Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel where we've got a lot of talking to do about Payday 3 today. Some feedback from last week's update that I didn't get a chance to talk about in my video, some news that's come out with recent Starbreeze press announcements, and also some theory crafting based on spoilers from the Boys in Blue update, which I didn't really talk about too much at the time because I wanted everyone to have a chance to properly get in and play the game, and I genuinely thought we had the first instance of spoilers that mattered in Payday 3's story, the return of Houston. So there's a lot to talk about. I want to theorize with you, but also play the game while doing it. I really enjoyed doing this style of video in the Crime Boss versus Payday 3 video, so we're going to do it here, play some games, probably quite badly since I'll be talking and playing, but if you're familiar with my Twitch streams, you know that won't be any different to normal. And speaking of, thank you very much to everyone who followed me as a result of the Boys in Blue update and the Twitch drops. We finally hit 10,000 followers on Twitch. Super grateful for that, and I really appreciate the love and support. Go follow me over there if you want to catch any future streams. On top of that, I also do want to mention one more time that if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. About 2/3 of you who watch these videos have not yet subscribed. It is worth subscribing. If you're coming back to all the videos constantly anyway, why not press the button? But what we're going to do is play some solo mode because it is something that I do want to talk about in this video. There's a lot of details I want to go through, and I also want to just try and practice my speedrun of Rock the Cradle, especially on solo mode since you can't use the RNG on restarts. I'll talk about this more later, but every time you restart a heist in solo mode, you don't get to keep the same layout of RNG, you have to figure it all out again, and I think that's really cool. First off, let's talk about the news, I think, because that's quite important. Because the news comes direct from Starbreeze Studios, and it notes that the Operation Medic Bag proceedings are increasing in pace over the next couple of months. It's an article that was posted on their website yesterday at the time of recording that talks about the addition of things such as CrimeNet, a server browser, and VOIP, in other words, in-game voice and text chat across platforms. All those things supposedly coming to Payday 3 in the next couple of months, but that's included in an article which also notes that all the DLCs that are planned for Year 1 are still going to release before September. So there's a big indication here that all of their proceedings are going to wrap up, at least for Year 1, and a lot of Operation Medic Bag stuff, the key things, before Year 1 is out. So by the time September swings around, a lot of big things will be happening for Payday 3, apart from the things that have already happened, like Boys in Blue coming out. Speaking of Blue, LV115 Blue. But no, they talk about those three things, VoIP, server browser, and CrimeNet, although I'm not entirely sure what the difference between CrimeNet and a server browser is. They're pretty much the same thing, far as I knew. Oh, come on. But there is a pretty interesting quote from Starbreeze's acting CEO, Mats Juhl, I think is how I say his name. I always struggle with Swedish names, I'm sorry if I'm butchering that. But he said the Payday team has worked tirelessly over the past few months to realise both ours and the players' visions for Payday 3. The updates during the spring have laid a solid foundation to accelerate the roadmap, but most recently, we launched our second major DLC, as well as a large amount of free content for all players, and a long-awaited single-player mode. But in the coming months, we will continue to be active with 2 more DLCs and more updates within Operation Medic Bag up until the 1-year anniversary of Payday 3's launch in September. I think it's interesting that the heading of the article says that some of these features are coming in the coming months, which realistically, if you want to talk about semantics, you could stretch to past September, you could stretch to October, November, but the fact that they've said that and then later on confirmed that a lot of the pace is building up to Payday 3's first anniversary, that suggests a lot of these features are coming in the next couple of months. Now, I do need to clarify because I know some people pick me up on this. Starbreeze partners did get to see some of Starbreeze's early roadmap for Payday 3 content for the summer. I'll be honest, I've forgotten a lot of what that said. I remember looking at it and thinking the roadmap looked really good, but I thought I'd taken a screenshot of the roadmap so I could kind of keep it to myself and refer to it when I needed to and make sure I don't speculate things that I know kind of thing. But I looked recently and couldn't find the image, so what's happened is my dumbass brain has basically pretty much forgot everything. The only real thing that I could remember was what they've already said, which is that they're planning to deliver all DLCs before September, and that was the main reason why I was getting super excited over the Payday 3 roadmap, because I thought spilling out 3 DLCs before September, based on their previous pace, that seems impossible, but they're beginning to make good on it, and I'm very happy about it. So based on that logic, and also their previous update history over the last couple of months, there's probably only going to be 2 more game updates before Payday 3's first anniversary. One at the end of July, one at the end of August. So that means that either this month or next month, we might get VOIP, server browser, and CrimeNet, if server browser and CrimeNet are different things at all. I suppose you could say that CrimeNet and server browser would be separate, only in the sense that in Payday 2, you could log into CrimeNet online and offline, and I guess CrimeNet online was the server browser, whereas CrimeNet offline was just you on your own looking around CrimeNet and having jobs pop up. But also, with the greatest respect to Mats, it could just be the CEO saying some very important buzzwords that are things they're delivering, but are things worth noting, so saying those keywords get attention and because they're coming and he wants to use all the wording possible. I don't think it matters too much either way anyway, because realistically, what we've got is some really exciting stuff coming in the next couple of months, if that story's true. So as soon as we find out more with regards to a server browser or VoIP or anything like that, I'll let you all know. But the next thing I want to talk about are the compensation items. Been a lot of comments about this on YouTube, a lot of people popping up on Twitch asking me what's going on with these. If you aren't already aware, as I mentioned in my update video and in previous videos, extra outfits are meant to be coming out for people who own either the Syntax Era, Silver Edition, or Gold Editions of Payday 3. They're meant to be compensation to account for the new DLC pricing being a lot lower than it was before, a 1/3 reduction. Anyway, so point is, those outfits were supposed to be in the Boys in Blue update, and, well, they weren't. And it was put up on Payday socials to say that they'd be coming out in the coming weeks. Now, that's a very vague answer. It doesn't say they're coming in the next update, so I don't think it's going to take them that long. But I'm wondering if what they actually mean is that they'll just start popping up in players' accounts over the next few weeks. I think that's the impression I'm getting. I don't know for sure, though. Until they start showing up people's inventories, we won't know for absolute certainty what's happening there. I'm a little bit sad about it because it didn't really seem like something that would be very hard to add to the game. Obviously, I'm not a game dev, so I don't really understand the ins and outs, so I don't want to make any kind of sweeping statements or accusations, but it's a bit of a shame that a few cosmetics just couldn't get over that finish line, especially because, you know, they were meant to be a big part of that update and just, well, weren't. At least they're a big part to me. So point is, if you're waiting for those compensation items, then you have to keep waiting a little bit longer. No idea when they'll start popping up. If I see some big mass wave of people telling me that they've suddenly got them, I'll include it in a news video or do a separate news video or something like that. I'll let you all know. But moving on, let's keep that pacing up, and I want to talk next about solo mode. Just offer some thoughts on it overall, because I know I haven't really done that, mainly because it wasn't in the branch of the update that I got to play ahead of time. I've played a lot, and especially that double money has really pushed me to be playing a lot of Payday 3 to try and grind up extra cash, but also there's been a few downsides and glitches and things like that, so obviously I want to talk about those a little bit. For one thing, I don't want to spend much time on this because glitches and things like that are not really things that I like to talk about, but I do want to mention it for a specific reason. There is an issue with solo mode at the minute where every time you finish a heist, if you keep playing in solo mode, you'll get the favors from all previous completions in that session, one after the other, as you complete each heist. When I finish this one in a minute, you'll see I'll get 2 favors, the one from the last completion and the one from this one. Now, this isn't something game breaking. It doesn't get you a really high level, doesn't get you a ton of cash or anything like that. It's just extra little tweaks to get in your heists. And if you play enough Payday 3 anyway, you'll probably have enough favors, and this won't matter to you in the slightest. But I bring this up for a specific reason because I really want Payday 3 to give you the option to buy heist-specific favors. I think it would be really, really nice if we could just buy them ourselves with a bit of cash, like you can buy the zipline, ammo bag, medic bag favors, made them more expensive, like maybe 50 grand rather than 10 grand to buy them, but allow you to also buy them in bulk. That's a little quality of life feature that I think Payday 3 would really benefit from, and that's why I'm mentioning it. I'm not doing some big promotion saying, hey, you should all make the most of this exploit. The only reason I brought it up is because I want to note that I think the ability to buy these favors and bulk buy them would negate the need for this bug or exploit or whatever you want to call it anyway. The only other thing with solo mode that I don't love right now is that you can't pause the game, especially with it being a solo mode. One of the biggest advantages for me in playing offline was being able to pause the game. If I'm getting footage and I need to go somewhere or anything happens and I want to just pause my game, pausing it should pause the game. And it doesn't. But that's about the only negative I have. Now, as you'll see, as I said before, boom, 99 boxes thermite drop. What's actually happened is I've got the same favor twice. So I've got that one last time and got that one this time, so now it's given me 2 of them. But I mean, look at that, 52 additional secure points. I've now got a whole bunch of favors, and it looks really funky, but it's just because it kept giving me the same ones over and over when I was playing the game. I'm not going to stop playing Payday 3 to stop that happening, but now I've got a good build-up. Just let us buy them, and it won't be a problem. So, anyway, I want to prove a point here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick unlocked lockboxes, and you'll see when we get into solo mode, there is also one other negative I didn't mention, which is that assets just don't work. So, you'll see when we open the truck that the lockboxes will not, in fact, be unlocked. But for every bad thing with solo mode, there are some really, really good things. So, first off, gotta give praise where it's due. The whole point of solo mode is to get you quickly into a heist and quickly get you having fun, and it works very, very well. With solo mode, you can very quickly pick a heist, get straight in, and be playing within about 10 seconds, and I love that. I think it works really fluidly. Big fan of how that is all laid out. On top of that, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, this whole RNG thing is really, really cool. Something that stealth players in particular miss from Payday 2 is that every time you would restart a heist in Payday 2, you'd get the RNG change. So some locations for objectives would change, or spawn points for different characters, or anything like that would change locations, and it would mix it up every playthrough. So every time you failed, you were dealing with a new box of tricks, basically, a new setup, a new organization of objectives, and it was really fun to adapt and move around based on that. Whereas in Payday 3, every time you restart a specific run of a heist, everything stays in the exact same place. Nothing changes. And that's fine. I mean, it makes speedrunning slightly more interesting in Payday 3, and some heists like No Rest for the Wicked, you can't complete unmasked stealth in without knowing some of those spawn locations from restarting. And so I don't think it's been a net loss that RNG hasn't taken place in every single Payday 3 heist since launch. What I do think is that maybe this feature should apply to the higher difficulty. So for example, if you play on very hard and overkill, even on multiplayer, your RNG changes between every run, whereas if you play on, say, normal and hard, spawn points stay the same if you restart. That could be a really good middle ground, and and would combine things that people like about Payday 2 and 3, or at least things that I like about both those games. But on the whole, even though I've got a couple positives and a couple negatives, I think solo mode's really good, especially now there's double cash in this mode, which I think from the patch notes might have been an accident. Whether it was intended or not, I think it's really good because it's a good way to push people to try out the mode, offer feedback, and it's how a lot of these different things about solo mode have come out and have been very popularly reported on the Reddit and Discords, things like that. But all in all, I really like solo mode. I think it's a really good addition, and I'm excited to see them develop it and make a proper full offline mode. And I imagine it's what Starbreeze is going for. They said they want the second iteration to be a more fully offline mode, so we just gotta hope and pray that comes soon, and it also builds on the feedback that solo mode has offered them so far. But the last thing, and perhaps the most important thing that I want to talk about, is Houston. Now, everything's obviously been chapter marked, so you may have skipped to this at the start of the video, and if you have, well, fair enough. But I just want to talk about the Houston reveal a little bit more and my theories as to when he'll show up, because I had quite an interesting debate with my Twitch chat on Monday evening about when I think he'll show up, how he'll show up, the good and bad of him showing up, not as a character, but like the way in which it's executed. So, if you don't know, to bring you up to speed by this point, I'm not really going to be protective of spoilers now. It's been a few days, and if you care, you probably have played Boys in Blue already. But the end cutscene reveals that Concord, the man who arranged the hits on the Payday gang to begin with, is particularly invested in getting Houston locked away. He's currently imprisoned on Rikers Island, and the gang have now found out about it, which strongly suggests the next heist for Payday 3 is going to be a Houston breakout. It's been a meme since before Payday 3 even came out, once it was confirmed Hoxton was there and Houston wasn't. Either Payday 3 planned for that, or have quickly adapted on it based on people saying it last year. Whatever it may be, I like the idea that they're going with this. My question and my point of debate, and the most important thing for the comment section that I want to know from you guys though, is do you think the Houston Breakout is going to be a DLC heist, or do you think it's going to be free? Because the way that it's framed is in a DLC cutscene, and the DLC stories are trying to follow on from each other. How well they're doing that is a matter of debate, but it suggests that what's been set up in Boys in Blue should be followed on directly in DLC 3, which is Land of the Free. But the thing is, Houston's only ever been a free character in Payday, and my personal belief is that any characters that have always been free previously in Payday shouldn't suddenly become DLC characters when they're added in a later game, like with Payday 3. Clover was a DLC character in Payday 2, so I'm kind of surprised she was picked to be the first heister and made free, because I'd have thought if you were going to charge for another heister, that would be the one to charge for, one people have paid for already. I wouldn't want the opposite thing happening of a character being free and then being made paid. That would rub me up a little bit the wrong way, personally anyway. And so it creates a dilemma to people who are thinking the same way as me, which granted won't be everyone, but it sparks an interesting debate nonetheless. If Land of the Free, which does very much sound like the land of someone being freed from prison, does end up being a paid heist and it ends up being the Houston Breakout, does that mean Houston's going to be a DLC character? Or is he going to be free? Well, there are a couple of ways that we can theorize this, and it actually is helped by the confirmation that a server browser is coming soon, because one of the most important parts to remember is that in Payday 2, you unlocked Hoxton by completing the Hoxton Breakout heist. Now granted, that was a free heist, it wasn't DLC, but you could play it either by hosting it or joining someone else's game. So to me, there are two clear options to how this might go, two of my hottest theories. First one is that we know a free heist is coming to Payday 3, we don't know when, just that one's coming and it's being worked on. That could come before DLC 3, and that could be the Houston Breakout. I don't personally believe that's how it will go down. I think if Starbreeze are really committed to getting DLC 3 and 4 out the door before September, I highly doubt a free heist will be lumped in as well. If they manage that, that's going to be amazing, because it'll be like Update 2, where we got two Legacy heists together. Getting two heists in the same update would be amazing. I'm just not expecting that, because right now, I'm purely happy we're getting regular updates with some decent content. But it is an option. We might get a free heist alongside the DLC, but of course, as I argued earlier, that creates an issue with Payday 3's narrative. If everything is tied together based on the cutscenes and DLCs, and then a free heist suddenly lumps in, that might not work, unless you count that free heist as part of the Bad Apple Year 1 campaign, and it's just the free section of it. I don't know how they plan to do it. But honestly, what I'm thinking of more is that the Houston Breakout heist could be DLC, but Houston himself could be free. Because stick with me on this, what if the server browser does come out in July? As I said, I don't know for sure when it's coming out. I can't remember half the stuff that was in that roadmap. Considering we know it's coming soon based on what Starbreeze have been saying, and as you can see here, look, everything's locked. But with the confirmation that the server browser is coming, what if the server browser comes at the same time as Land of the Free, and Houston is a free character you can unlock as long as you've played Land of the Free? Much like in Payday 2, where playing Hoxton Breakout gave you Hoxton, what if playing Land of the Free, assuming that is a Houston Breakout heist, lets you play as Houston? If you had a server browser at the same time, that means you're no longer limited to just joining a friend's lobby who has the DLC, because you may not have friends who own the DLC. You can join anyone's heist online who's got that DLC, and therefore get access to Houston if you beat it. So that way, a character that was previously free in Payday 2 will remain free in Payday 3. It'll be slightly easier to get him, arguably, if you own the DLC, but even then, you download the update, hop in someone's lobby, and finish the heist, and you get it pretty much just as fast as someone who owns the DLC. That would be, in my opinion, a really good way to run it, and I would back that. I think that would be a really cool execution of it, if the Houston Breakout is the next DLC heist. But Land of the Free, it makes sense, freeing somebody, and also Gustavo Cuchimio, Payday 3's composer, put a teaser snippet on Twitter recently of some music he was working on, and it had a very distinct prison bars sound. Everyone assumes that was for Boys in Blue based on the fact that it was, you know, it's set in a police station, but there's no prison bars in that heist track, which suggests it might be in the next heist track. It really all does begin to add up, at least for me. But as I said, this is what I want a lot of people's opinions on in the comment section below. But it's fun to theorize. I miss doing this kind of thing, and especially now I feel a bit more invested in Payday 3 again since the last couple of updates. It's exciting to at least discuss some theories and where I think things might go, because I am genuinely getting more and more invested in this game again and looking forward to it being in a really good state. Hopefully by the end of year 1. We're already getting quite close to it with some of the stuff we've had this year. I mean, it's not made the game perfect, but it's certainly made it a damn sight better. I'm keen to see what happens. But that just about sums up everything I want to talk about in this video. So some feedback on the previous update, some news, some theories, a lot of stuff I want to talk about in this video. And if you have enjoyed this style of video where I play through the game and talk to you while I'm playing it, much like a live stream, where I obviously don't play amazingly, then let me know, because I think I quite enjoy doing this style of video. The only downside of it, of course, is every time I chop up my commentary, it chops up the gameplay. But I suppose for people who've seen these heists hundreds of times, does that really matter? Let me know. I'd be intrigued to see what you think of this style of video. If you'd rather me just go back to my general talking and having websites on the screen and reading through them like that, then let me know too. I will always appreciate feedback on that. But if you've enjoyed the video, please feel free to click the like button. It shows me you like this kind of content, would like to see more, and it helps get the video out on the algorithm for other Payday 3 players. And as I said earlier, if you're already watching these videos and not yet subscribed, click the button. It's quick, it's free, and you'll stay up to date with all Payday 3 news, and I'll love you for it. It'd be very, very cool. I'd actually kind of like to see if we can hit 40k by the end of the year. I'd love to try and get some increase in subscribers, because it's been slow for a little while, and I'd like to see that change. Thank you all very much for watching my thoughts on Boys in Blue and the theories around the upcoming DLC Land of the Free. If you want to see any more, let me know in the comment section below things you want to see me talk about, but apart from that, I'll see you all on Friday for the next devblog video, assuming it's something big, which, after last week's not being very much, I'd expect something a bit bigger this weekend, but we'll see. Thank you all for watching. See you all later. Take care.